What's going on, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, or wherever the hell you're watching from? I'm Anthony Greeno. Welcome to True Crime Investigates, and I bet you thought you were going to get an intro, didn't you? Yep. Well, you didn't. That's because I don't have the banner made right here for the Flora Fire thing because I completely spaced doing that. So I'm going to do that while I play this video. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to say big shout out to the other creators that have been following along with Flora Week. And I've got a schedule right here in my pictures. Let me pull up the schedule real quick so I can go ahead and run everybody down on exactly what's happening in Flora this week. Not necessarily in Flora, but in the case. So on Sunday, there was a video by True Crime Notebook that was put out talking about the different creators that are going to be covering the Flora case. Monday was Fire and Ice with Mark Robert Cohen and Thomas Frost. Tuesday was Coach Kev. Wednesday was Ruckus Rocks. Ruckus is live now, I think, still talking about something else. Thursday is Today is Us, and Friday is Beyond the Evidence, which is Marv tomorrow, and Saturday is Miss Persevere. And then I think Sunday, like we'll have some sort of a tribute videos that are and stuff like that are going on. So tonight, I have a little bit of combination and a little bit different approach on this case. If anybody here is new to this case or is curious as to, maybe what I bring to the table as far as the Flora Fire goes. And I think that what I bring to the table is just a local aspect, someone who knows the law enforcement officials and the corruption within the community very well, and have been a victim of all this corruption. Okay. And not to say that I haven't done some things wrong in the past. I have, and I own that. But there are certain things that they may have said or done or things like that have come up along the way that I haven't done. Okay. And it is corruption and it is lies on law enforcement's part and the prosecutor. And so tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive back into the Flora Fire case, a case that is all too familiar with everyone who follows the Delphi murders case. Tonight, we're digging into the corruption, the Randalls. My person of interest will be revealed at the end of today's live stream or after this video. We have a 1 hour long, decent documentary style video that digs into more of the corruption aspect and gives you a history on the officials in Carroll County. Okay. I'm not saying that there isn't any corruption or racism. You'll see it all detailed in this case here. For those of you that like following the Delphi murders case, I understand that you're here for that. This is like that. This happened in the same place, just the next town over, 10 minutes away, smaller community. There's corruption. And tonight, if you pay attention to the things that I say in here and the people involved, you'll notice that there's some of the same people involved in the Delphi murders case. It's very compelling. And I will tell you exactly who I think that my persons of interest are in this case. And if you can't tell by the thumbnail, then you're going to learn a lot today. Okay. In the Flora Fire case. So sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, everybody, and get ready to dive into the Flora Fire case. We start with the most recent events in the case, which was a memorial walk hosted by Marv, Randy, several individuals, and they did that at Crown Hill Cemetery. Jinx was there. A lot of people were there, and we filmed that. With Indie Archives' help, we put that in a drone, and we showed you live coverage of that. And tonight, we start off with that, and then we backtrack into the Flora Fire case itself, and then we go into the corruption and the things that I know and kind of what I've uncovered along the way through my investigative journalism on Flora. I want you to keep in mind that in this video, we will be watching a fire of a burning house that took the lives of 4 young girls. Okay. An 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old. Okay. So it's very, very, very sad. And it's hard to watch this footage because I will tell you this footage is haunting. Okay. It's a burning blaze of a fire in Flora, and I've added my commentary and stuff to it. So just be advised that Keyara, Kerrielle, and Kionnie died that day, and that this is all about finding justice not just for Abby and Libby and Delphi, but also for the Flora 4. There's 6 girls. The Carroll County 6 is maybe what we should start calling them all. Instead of the Flora 4 or the Delphi 2, it's really the Carroll County 6, But, Abby and Libby's case is closer to receiving closure and justice, because Richard Allen, who is the bridge guy, by the way, is going to be convicted of that. And that is the mindset that I have, and that is the mindset that we just have to trust, that some of our law enforcement officials are doing the right thing, but in the Flora case, I just don't think they are. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, the Flora Fire. Coming up tonight on True Crime Investigates, we take you back into the Flora Fire. But this time, we dig a little deeper. This is Flora Week, and we've already seen some interesting conversation through the other creators covering the case. But tonight, we bring you a local standpoint and a deeper look into the corruption, racism, and lies involving the officials in Carroll County, all coming up tonight on True Crime Investigates. This is the Flora Fire.
We still got 4 kids inside. We can't get inside.
A minute-by-minute retelling of the valiant but unsuccessful effort to save 4 little girls' lives.
Some nights it brings tears to my eyes.
What really happened?
Tonight, we see how a family, desperate for answers, in a community filled with questions, is now demanding justice almost 8 years later. To the beloved family, friends, and the indomitable spirits of Keyana, Keyara, Kerrielle, and Kionnie, as you come together in solemn remembrance at the hallowed grounds of Crown Hill Cemetery, your gathering is a profound symbol of unity and enduring love. The tragedy that befell before your loved ones was a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the depths of sorrow that such senseless acts can inflict upon us. Yet, in the face of such darkness, you have chosen to be the bearers of light. The voices that refuse to be stifled by the shadows of injustice. The loss of these sisters is a wound that time cannot heal. For their absence is felt with each passing day. The questions that linger, the answers that remain elusive, they add to the heavy burden you carry. But your strength is formidable, and your resolve unbreakable. And your resolve unbreakable. You have taken the pain and transformed it into a powerful call to action. A demand for justice that resonates far beyond the confines of your community, but to the world. Your voices, united in purpose, have become this beacon for the truth and accountability. It's a sound that will not be drowned out by the passage of time, for it carries with it the promise of a day when the scales of justice will balance and the truth will emerge triumphant. in this sacred space where you honor the memory of the Flora Fire. Let each name be spoken with reverence, and each memory be cherished, because you are a beacon of hope. Your vigil, a powerful symbol of the unbreakable bond between those who have passed and those who carry on their legacy. It is a bond that not only connects you to each other, but also to the countless individuals watching. We all share your quest for answers and justice. And the path that you walk is long and it is fraught with obstacles, but it is walked together, with every step taken with purpose. With each day that passes without justice, your determination only grows stronger, your voices louder, and your actions more resolute. You stand as a guardian of their story, defenders of their dignity, and champions of their right to justice. As you gather today, let the world see the strength of your unity, where there is no white and black. The depth of your love and the fierceness of your resolve. May this assembly serve as a powerful message to all who bear witness that the fight for justice is relentless, and that the pursuit of truth is unwavering, and that the spirit of community is unassailable. Believe in justice. Believe in yourselves, and believe in love. And love is what we will always have for the Flora Fire.
We still got 4 kids inside. We can't get inside.
A minute-by-minute retelling of the valiant but unsuccessful effort to save 4 little girls' lives.
Some nights it brings tears to my eyes.
What really happened?
Welcome to True Crime Investigates. I'm your host, Anthony Greeno, and today we're going to talk about the Flora Fire. A tragic and unsolved arson case that claimed the lives of 4 young sisters in Flora, Indiana on November 21st, 2016. As we've reached the 7-year anniversary of this horrific crime, we'll take a look at the timeline and the events that have unfolded in this case, as well as the controversies and challenges that have plagued the investigation. We'll also hear from the mother of the victims, who is still seeking justice and closure for her daughters, and the authorities who are still working to solve this case. Or are they?
Some nights it brings tears to my eyes. Sometimes I try not to go past her.
The Flora Fire occurred around 3:30 a.m. on a Monday morning when a fire broke out in a house on East Columbia Street where Gaylin Rose lived with her 4 daughters. She was awakened by the smell of smoke in the household and tried to rescue her girls, 11-year-old Keyana Davis, 9-year-old Keyara Phillips, 7-year-old Kerrielle McDonald, and 5-year-old Kionnie Welch. But she was unable to reach them due to the intense heat and flames. She managed to escape through a window and called for help. True Crime Investigates has obtained video of Yoder responding to the Flora Fire. The video is from a dashboard camera inside his patrol car. The camera is fixed, pointing through the windshield towards the front of the vehicle. The view is limited, but Yoder is wearing a microphone. Frequently, viewers will hear much more than they see. In the video, the only editing has been to eliminate profanity. 3:35 a.m. Yoder was patrolling just west of Flora. As he was rolling down South Sycamore Street, an alarm went out to police, fire, and emergency medical responders. House fire at 103 East Columbia Street. Callers to 911 say there are 4 children still inside. 3:36 a.m. Officer Dysinger arrived seconds before Yoder. In the dashcam video, the deputy ran past the front of his car towards the burning building. There was a brief exchange with Rose.
Where is it? Stay up. They're upstairs?
The warm, thick layer of smoke filled the first floor of the 2-story structure from top to bottom. A witness described visibility of only a foot to a foot and a half from the floor. Yoder's microphone picked up Dysinger, first talking to Rose, and then Yoder. Coughing heavily, Deputy Yoder tried to navigate up a narrow, smoke-filled stairway to reach Gaylin Rose's daughters. The girls shared a bedroom on the 2nd floor. Yoder's climb was complicated by the layout of the stairs. There was a longer flight from the ground floor, then a landing to the left, and a second, shorter set of steps. Those lead directly to the girls' bedroom. Rose desperately directs Yoder around that landing.
You go around the corner. Please. Let's go.
But the smoke proved to be too much. As he exited the home breathing heavily and groaning, Yoder got back on his police radio. 3:38 a.m. Yoder ran back to his patrol car and raced to the Flora Fire Department, which is not yet on scene of the blaze. The drive of just 4 blocks takes 24 seconds. The deputy is also a volunteer firefighter. He dashed inside, yelling to get the fire equipment moving. While Yoder is not seen, he is heard on the microphone. It sounds like he is quickly getting into his firefighting turnout gear. In less than a minute, Yoder is seen running back into his car and racing back to the fire. 3:40 a.m. Back at the scene, Yoder announces the fire department is on its way. Off camera, Deputy Yoder and Officer Dysinger, suited up with on-air packs, getting ready to re-enter the house. 3:42 a.m. Crawling on hands and knees, Yoder and Dysinger went back through the front door. Smoke was pouring through the door, and visible flames were starting to work towards the cops from the back of the house. But inside the house, just 2 minutes, something went wrong.
Still got 4 kids inside. We can't get inside.
Yoder is heard screaming. "3:45 a.m. An emergency call goes out. Officer down. A growing group of firefighters responding to the fire have an expanded assignment: rescue Yoder, Dysinger, and the 4 girls. Visible on the dash cam, flames were moving much more rapidly towards the front of the house. 3:47 a.m. The dinging of an alarm is heard. It signals that an air pack is low on oxygen. "3:54 a.m. Firefighters would reach the officers and 3 of the girls and successfully get them out. CPR began immediately on the girls. 3:56 a.m. The 4th girl was brought out of the house. Feverish efforts to revive the girls continued. The video shows flames overwhelming the house, forcing firefighters to battle flames exclusively from the outside. Gaylin Rose, Drew Yoder, and Josh Dysinger were all taken to hospitals. The 4 sisters could not be resuscitated. All 4 dead as the fire continued to rage through the structure.
Sheriff, also being on the fire department here.
Dennis Randall, the former sheriff of Carroll County, was the state fire marshal who investigated the incident. His son, Adam Randall, the Flora Fire chief, assisted him in that investigation. Dennis Randall originally listed the fire as accidental, stating that he believed that it was something in the house that caught the fire. Canine units were brought in to search for traces of accelerants, but none were found. Fast forward 2 months. A private investigator from Michigan determined that Randall lied in his report and that there were accelerants found at the crime scene. Now, a quick flip in the report, the fire was labeled as an arson. The investigation, described as active by the Indiana State Police, has not produced an arrest in 7 years. Before a final decision was made to air the dashcam video, Gaylin Rose did ask to see it. It was immensely difficult for her to watch, but she supports sharing the video to the public. Rose hopes the video will generate tips from the public that may finally bring the investigation to a close. The toll-free number to set up a tip is Indiana State Police at 1-800-382-4628. You do not have to give your name to provide information. The fire was initially ruled as undetermined, but later reclassified as arson in January 2017, after investigators found evidence of accelerants in multiple locations inside the house. A reward fund was established for information leading to an arrest, but no suspects have been identified or charged in the case. The investigation has faced several challenges and controversies over the years, such as the resignation of the original fire investigator, Dennis Randall, who worked for the Indiana Department of Homeland Security as the fire investigator. He is the father of Adam Randall, who was the Flora Fire chief at the time of the fire and also resigned later. According to some emails obtained by True Crime Investigates, Dennis Randall had changed his report on the fire from undetermined to accidental to arson against the agency's wishes without consulting other investigators or providing any explanation. He also claimed that he had not found accelerants inside the house, but a private investigator uncovered these inconsistencies and raised doubts and questions among other investigators and agencies involved in the case, such as the Indiana State Police, the ATF, and the National Institute of Justice. It also caused confusion and frustration for the mother of the victims, who felt that she was not getting the truth or justice for her daughters. When confronted with this information, Dennis Randall resigned in June 2017, shortly after media outlets confronted him with emails and asked him to explain his actions. He did not give any reason for his resignation, but said that he was proud of his work and that he had followed the standards and protocols of his profession. The Carroll County prosecutor, Robert Ives, asked all agencies involved in the Flora investigation to avoid further discussion of the case, which could impact successful prosecution in the future. That caught my attention and only made me question why he wanted everyone to remain silent. In a moment, we share the emails between True Crime Investigates reporter Anthony Greeno and former Carroll County prosecutor Robert Ives. But first, let's take a look at the notable people involved in this investigation. Now let's flash back and provide a brief on some questionable circumstances surrounding officials in Carroll County. Let's start with Dennis Randall. Carroll County council members say Sheriff Dennis Randall should not be in charge of providing meals to the jail. That said, he should also be paid an appropriate salary. The idea of allowing any sheriff to supplement his salary with funds from jail meals is a slippery slope. It creates a moral dilemma for the sheriff and places him in an uncomfortable position. It allows temptation and opens the door for abuse. By cutting corners, he is able to earn extra money that he very well may deserve, but on the contrary, money illegally earned. Council said at the time, if the Carroll County Sheriff, whomever he or she may be, continues to provide meals to the jail, at some point that service will be exploited. Randall was slated to be paid a salary of $42,962 in 2006. The County Council extended a salary offer of $66,000 per year to Randall, provided that he relinquished the jail meals. That figure represents 2/3 of the salary of a full-time county prosecutor. He denied the offer. Randall then asked for $72,500 instead, a raise of over $29,000. But what is clear is this: Sheriff Randall is being unreasonable and should accept the $66,000 salary and be glad to get rid of the duties of purchasing food and preparing meals 365 days a year. Alternately, the council should not hesitate to pay him $72,500 per year if they find that is the only way to change the system. The council also said it is illegal for the sheriff to profit off of jail food money. Dennis Randall responded with, "I don't profit from jail meal funds. Any money left over, I keep." That is considered making a profit, council members exclaimed. Carroll County Council President Rob Baker announced at a council meeting he and Commissioners President Bill Brown met with and offered Randall the $66,000 to get rid of the jail meal responsibility. Randall's answer was simple: no. Baker said, according to the Association of Indiana Counties, the sheriff must be in agreement to surrender control of jail meals. In this situation, Randall was not in agreement. Councilmember John Blackburn disagreed. Blackburn said, according to Indiana statute, the council can assume the meal responsibility from Randall for $66,000. Council members Steve Ashby and Nancy Kripe said they were in favor of paying Randall $66,000 and taking over the meals. But Baker said the end-of-the-year timeline for accomplishing the goal was not going to be met, to which Blackburn responded, "A timeline is not an issue. We don't have a contract with the sheriff for this." Blackburn referred to a letter of concern about a jail condition written to Randall by County Prosecutor Robert Ives. The letter, distributed to council members prior to the meeting, referred to complaints Ives' office has received about jail meals and starving the inmates. It turns out Dennis Randall was starving the inmates, as all of them were victims of malnutrition. "We need to know what page we're on," Ashby said. "We need a legal opinion about this before we can decide what to do." Council members' consensus was to obtain County Attorney Barry Emerson's legal opinion, revisit the issue with the AIC, and discuss it at a later date. "It sounds like things have been fairly ironed out," Baker said to Randall, "but we need something like a document presented so we can vote on it." Ironically, now that Randall wasn't getting a pay raise, he made more pleas for county funds. A request by Randall right after that for $5,000 for medical services at the jail was unanimously denied. Randall said that a detainee suffered a concussion and a broken shoulder in an altercation at the facility recently. That person was taken to an emergency room, and those costs are not covered by the county's medical provider, he said. Randall explained that he did not want to use money currently in his budget because it was marked for replacing a stove in the jail's kitchen and repairing or replacing furnaces before the end of the year. Consensus of council members was for Randall to move funds within his own budget to cover the medical costs. However, Randall refused to do so. And it took 4 years for the family members of the late James Huffer to realize some closure in a theft case which occurred in his law office for several years. Huffer, a local attorney and former county prosecutor, employed Sheriff Dennis Randall's wife, Jean Ann Randall, in his law firm as his personal secretary from 1993 until his death in April of 2010. Randall continued to work in the firm for Huffer's daughter, attorney Abigail Huffer Diener, for a month after her father's death. Diener told reporters that she fired Randall soon after she assumed her father's place in a law firm, partially because Randall refused to relinquish Jim Huffer's personal check registers. Diener said when a new secretary was hired, inconsistencies in several client accounts began to be discovered. A forensic auditor was contracted to fully research the situation. Charges were filed by Special Prosecutor Anthony Summer in Carroll Circuit Court. After an investigation by the Indiana State Police, Randall was charged with 2 counts of Class D felony theft, 1 count of Class C felony theft. Special Judge Bradley Mueller of Clinton County was assigned to the case. A plea agreement was filed by Summer in August of that year, which Randall agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of theft, a Class D felony. The plea agreement called for Randall to be sentenced to 3 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections, which was suspended. Randall was placed on probation for 36 months. She agreed to pay $22,192.59 restitution to Huffer One, a farm account from which she stole the money. Diener was allowed to read a prepared statement at the sentencing hearing. She told the court that Jean Ann Randall stole funds from a client's trust account. The amount of money stolen and the way Jean Ann did it is nothing short of stunning, Diener said. Jean Ann had access to a client's checking account by way of her employment at our law firm. Unbeknownst to the client, Jean Ann set up an online banking for that account, whereby she was the only one with the login and password. Jean Ann would pay her personal bills out of that account by online payments. She paid her mortgage payment, her car payment, her Discover card, and a multitude of other credit cards. Diener advised the court that in 2007, Randall made 8 payments to her credit card in 3 months for more than $6,000. She paid nearly $88,000 in 2008 in 57 payments to credit cards and loans. Randall made 52 payments for nearly $43,000 in 2009, and in only 3 months in 2010, she made 12 payments for $16,000 before she was fired. The last payment Jean Ann made in 2010 from the client account was to her credit card company on October 1st, 6 months to the day after her father died. Diener said she was able to document 129 online commissions of theft by Randall during her time at the law office. She said Randall also wrote checks from the client's account and forged 17 checks from her father and her uncle's farming operation, Huffer One. Diener said Randall manipulated reports she provided to her uncle to hide the losses. Diener said Randall also appropriated thousands of dollars from the client account and paid Jail Mills Inc., a business which was owned by herself and her husband, then Sheriff Dennis Randall. Dennis said that he had no known knowledge that his wife was committing theft of nearly $500,000. He then retired as sheriff amidst the controversy. Your Honor, Diener concluded, Jean Ann is not a first-time offender, and I doubt these crimes are her last. She is receiving very few consequences under this plea agreement. No jail time, no community service, and she's not even responsible to pay back the client funds because our law firm's malpractice insurance has already done that. If this conviction does nothing else, it should protect the public from Jean Ann Randall. After Diener completed her statement, Randall stood and spoke. She was crying when she said that she was sorry for her crimes. She was remorseful, and she hoped that those in the courtroom would forgive her. The judge answered back by saying, I don't buy the tears. I don't buy the remorse. This didn't have an impact on you, except you got caught. The judge said he was not inclined to accept the plea agreement. But he did say, however, there would be no restitution to Huffer One if she was to go to jail. So the judge said, you're going to get a job. You're going to pay 75% of your earnings towards that restitution. 129 times is staggering, he continued. You better get started. Nothing I can do will make this family feel that this is just. The judge also said that the malpractice insurance company could file a civil lawsuit to recoup the $450,000 settlement to Huffer's clients, including the interest, which would have been earned if the money had stayed in the account. Jean Ann Randall is required to be employed for at least 30 hours each week. She is to submit 3 verifiable job applications each day until she becomes employed. She is not allowed to hold a position of trust nor is she allowed to have access to anyone's funds, including volunteer positions. The judge gave Randall 2 weeks to resign from any organization in which she has access to their funds. The judge concluded the hearing by telling Randall that he does not believe that she intends to make anything right. "I don't think you do," the judge said. "This has had a huge impact on our law firm," Diener told True Crime Investigates. "We didn't say why Jean Ann was fired, and we lost clients. We spent tens of thousands of hours to pull all of the information together," she continued. "Obviously, I wish she would have gotten jail time. But on that one night in jail, she got to hang out with her favorite brother-in-law, John Randall, the brother of Dennis." John is a former police officer in the Flora jurisdiction, and at the time was the lead jailer at the Carroll County Jail, as well as a part-time bailiff. John Randall was fired from the Flora jurisdiction for being too aggressive while on the job. He then began working for his brother as the lead jail officer. But once Denny was out and new administration took over, John got himself and the county in some compromising issues. Carroll County Jail inmate Brandon Woodhouse filed a complaint in the Northern Indiana District Court against the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. Individuals listed in the complaint are Sheriff Tobe Lesenby, Jailer John Randall, Jail Commander Lori Sestarsik, and Jailer Grant Baker. The complaint alleges Woodhouse's civil rights were violated in 2019 while he was incarcerated in the Carroll County Jail. The allegations in the formal court papers state Woodhouse was arrested on November 16, 2019, following an alleged assault. Woodhouse was transported to IU Arnett Hospital because of his injuries sustained in the alleged assault. The document continues to state that Woodhouse informed jail staff that he had epilepsy during booking into the jail. Woodhouse suffered a massive seizure in the jail on November 18th. The complaint states Woodhouse was rendered unconscious and other inmates had to scream and yell to get jail staff's attention in an effort to get help for Woodhouse. Jailer John Randall then transported Woodhouse to IU Health in White County and reported to hospital staff that Woodhouse had suffered a seizure while incarcerated in the Carroll County Jail. According to the complaint, the hospital staff suspected Woodhouse might be withdrawing from medications and or other drugs. Hospital physicians prescribed Valium to Woodhouse to treat the seizure. While in the hospital doctors explained the dangers of stopping Valium abruptly. The prescription of Valium was given to John Randall. However, according to the complaint, Randall refused to fill the prescription or otherwise give any Valium to Woodhouse as was prescribed by the hospital doctors. The Carroll County Jail reported to the circuit court Woodhouse was intoxicated and not in a condition to appear before the court. Woodhouse did not receive any medication on November 19th. He asked a jail employee if the employee had forgotten to give his prescribed medication to him. Woodhouse alleges that the jailer reached into his pocket and gave him several pills. Woodhouse stated that he began to feel sick after taking the pills, and as Woodhouse was laying down in his cell, Randall and another jailer came into his cell. They pulled out a bag of insulin syringes and began to place them around Woodhouse's body. According to the formal court papers, as Woodhouse became more awake, Randall and the other officers left his cell, and Woodhouse could hear Randall, Jail Commander Lori Sestarsik, and the other jailer, Grant Baker, speaking outside of his cell. Woodhouse alleges that Randall and the other jailer came back into his cell and they put syringes and narcotics next to his body and took photographs. Woodhouse indicated that he begged for them to stop. The prisoner then tried to clean up the syringes and narcotics after Randall and the other jailer left the cell. Woodhouse reports he then laid back down in his cell and vomited. Woodhouse alleges that Randall and the other jailer went into his cell for a third time, and the other jailer checked to see if Woodhouse was awake. Again, syringes and narcotics were placed around the prisoner. Woodhouse indicated that Randall took photos of the scene. He said that after the photos were taken, the other jailer bent down and touched Woodhouse's genitals, and then inserted a finger into the prisoner's rectum. The allegations continued to state that after this incident, he could see a security television replaying the ordeal for him to watch. He said that he felt ashamed, embarrassed, and violated. Later, on November 19th, Woodhouse was transported to circuit court by Randall. He alleges Randall handed the judge a stack of photographs and told the judge that Woodhouse appeared to be under the influence. Woodhouse said Randall told the judge that Woodhouse had picked the lock of the nurse's station and of the jail's evidence room to obtain the syringes and narcotics. When Woodhouse was taken back to the jail after court, he was denied a bottom bunk and was forced to sleep on a top bunk, from which he fell out of due to another seizure and was knocked unconscious. Woodhouse alleges other inmates had to scream and yell for help. He was taken to the IU hospital in White County for treatment and was diagnosed with facial contusions, low back pain, and traumatic nasal hemorrhaging. Woodhouse bonded out of the Carroll County Jail later that day on November 20th, 2019. The complaint states that as a direct and proximate result of the actions and inactions of the defendants, Woodhouse has suffered severe personal injuries, including disfigurement and deformity, severe emotional injuries, incurred medical expenses, suffered physical and emotionally, suffered permanent injuries, and other injuries and damages. The defendants' refusal to provide Woodhouse with prescription medication and other necessary medical treatment, and the failure to provide Woodhouse with a bottom bunk at the jail constitutes deliberate indifference to his health, safety, and serious medical needs in violation of the 8th and 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. In addition, the defendant's actions and inactions constitute a violation of Woodhouse's 4th Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizures. The document states that the defendant's actions constitute negligence, assault, battery, sexual battery, intimidation, excessive force, and intentional infliction of emotional distress under Indiana law. Sheriff Lesenby, when asked by True Crime Investigates to comment on this matter, "At this time, I do not want to make statements which may be detrimental to the legal defense of our case." Lesenby went on to say respectfully, "I cannot comment until receiving further sound direction from our legal representatives," Lesenby concluded. Sheriff Lesenby then reported that Brandon Woodhouse was arrested again afterwards in the evening and booked into the Carroll County Jail for intimidation, resisting, and indecent exposure after a verbal confrontation with his cousin Adam Woodhouse while walking his pit bulldogs in the southern portion of the county. I've recently spoken to Brandon Woodhouse, and he has informed me that the information that he had and plans to release is an email sent by Andrew Baldwin, his former attorney, who is also the former attorney for Delphi suspect Richard Allen. In the email, Woodhouse claims that there is information to and from Andrew Baldwin and Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClellan that seems to indicate that Richard Allen could be exonerated for the murders of Abby and Libby. But suddenly, after Woodhouse's announcement, the Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClellan filed for a search warrant, which was granted by the court, and then searched Woodhouse's home and arrested him for violating the conditions of his bond on several charges, including unlawful possession of a firearm by a serious violent felon, battery resulting in serious bodily injury to a public safety officer, resisting law enforcement, and violation of a previous sentence. At this time, True Crime Investigates has not yet received a copy or valid proof of the email, but was able to confirm Carroll County settled for more than $70,000+ to Woodhouse as a result of the lawsuit. So Woodhouse is currently incarcerated in the Carroll County Jail, facing up to 30 years in prison for being a habitual offender. He is scheduled for a pre-trial conference on November 30th, 2023, and jury trial is scheduled for January 8th, 2024, which ironically was the same date that Richard Allen, the suspect in the Delphi murders, was originally scheduled to go to jury trial. True Crime Investigates began asking serious questions about how the Flora fatal fire investigation was handled, and now Governor Eric Holcomb is responding to our questions. Were there conflicts of interest between the investigators on the case? And if there were, did those conflicts jeopardize justice for those girls? Crews were dispatched to the fire at Division in Columbia in Flora, Indiana. The 4 girls were trapped inside the home when they arrived. They died as a result. Investigators eventually ruled that the fire was set intentionally. For the past 7 years, investigators have been trying to figure out who is responsible. State police said that they are watching persons of interest, but so far no one has been arrested. But in the first 7 weeks of the investigation, True Crime Investigates uncovered a breakdown in communication in the case, a mistake in the investigation, and a major resignation by a key investigator. And the more we kept digging, the more serious the family's concerns became. Rose and her family have been waiting and watching as investigators come in and out of that house. An investigator they'd look to for answers was Dennis Randall. After 10 weeks of investigating, Randall and his team released a report ruling the fire was set intentionally. accelerants found in several locations of the structure. But the more True Crime Investigates questioned authorities about details in that report, we learned a big part of the state's published findings were wrong. The fire was still considered arson, but state police now admitted accelerants were not found all over the house, but simply just one spot. One day after True Crime Investigates exposed the mistake, Randall resigned, citing personal reasons. So we drove to his home in Carroll County and asked him if he had made any mistakes in the Flora case. He replies, "Myself? I don't believe so." Randall then said that he followed a nationally recognized guide for fire investigations and did not believe that he made any mistakes. But should Dennis Randall have been assigned to the Flora Fire case in the first place? Remember, in 2014, Randall's wife, Jean Ann Randall, was convicted for stealing money from a farm account in Carroll County. The state trooper investigating her and interviewing Randall as part of his investigation was Trooper Greg Edwards. Edwards, ironically, is the same detective who was assigned to investigate the Flora case. The man who collected evidence against Randall's wife only a few years ago was now working on the same case as Randall. Was this a problem? I asked that question first to State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. He wouldn't comment specifically about Randall, but Carter told us that this kind of thing happens in rural communities. From my perspective, policing in rural Indiana is very different than the urban environment that we have here in Indianapolis, he explained. We deal with the complications associated with personal involvement in setting all over Indiana. Carter went on to defend Edwards. Edwards is a constant professional. He would look beyond anything that might have been there before, and if it was there before, it was still professional. But does that make it right? Not everyone thinks so. Roger Johnson served as Indiana Fire Marshal under Governor Mitch Daniels. He told True Crime Investigates, based on their past relationship, Randall and Edwards should never have been working on the same case. I think a jury would end up having trouble with that, he said. I would think I would have removed myself, added Princess Spencer Cook. She is an insurance fraud investigator who tipped authorities off and helped them bring down the group responsible for setting 26 fires throughout Muncie and Anderson for insurance money. Spencer Cook knows how important good working relationships and communication is in an arson case. The Randall-Edwards relationship made her uncomfortable. It would have been a lot smoother to have brought someone in that has no history with the other person. But the relationships don't end there in the small community of Flora. Dennis Randall's son, Adam Randall, is the Flora Fire chief, and Adam Randall's boss is the town council president, Josh Ayers, who happens to be the owner of the Flora Firehouse. We caught up with Ayers outside his company's warehouse in Flora. He wouldn't comment about the case, but had this to say about his house being set on fire. "It's been awful. I hope they're caught," said Ayers. But with all of these connections and mounting questions about how the case was handled, I wanted to know if the governor was paying attention. So I reached out to Governor Eric Holcomb in Indianapolis. He refused to give True Crime Investigates a sit-down interview, but his spokesperson suggested that we catch up with him at a public event. So that's exactly what we did. We asked him how there could be a breakdown of communication between two state agencies. We have to wake up every day and try to do right. That's what my charge is. 3 boxes that I've asked everybody to check that works in this administration is to be honest, be humble, and to be hungry. Hungry to do good. If there's been lapses, we need to correct them, and we need to learn from them. And there's no excuse, but we owe it to make sure that every single Hoosier is receiving the care and services that they not just pay for, but they deserve. That's my charge as governor, and that's what we'll stay focused on. And wherever things need to be corrected, they will be. I also asked Governor Holcomb if he was concerned about what appeared to be conflicts of interest in the Flora investigation. The governor responded with, "If there are potential conflicts, potential or hypothetical, as you're throwing out, then we need to address them each and every day. That's what we do. We wake up each and every day and we try to do the right thing. And if someone is not, then we for sure need to correct that person." I also asked the governor if there should be an audit of the other investigations Randall had worked on while serving as a state fire investigator. The governor would not comment on that question, but replied, "We'll have more to say as the case develops. I care about 6.6 million Hoosiers, and that's what we'll be focused on, getting it right. Where there are wrongs, we'll get them right." True Crime Investigates has repeatedly requested an interview with State Fire Marshal Jim Greeson, but our requests have been denied for 7 years. The lack of communication and cooperation between different agencies involved in the case, such as Indiana State Police, the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office, and the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. Some of these agencies have accused each other of withholding information, interfering with the investigation, or failing to follow up on leads. Some of these agencies have also experienced personnel changes, such as the retirement of Carroll County Prosecutor Robert Ives, who was involved in both the Flora Fire case and the Delphi murders case, which are both still unresolved. The Indiana State Police have denied any allegations of wrongdoing or incompetence, and have assured that the personnel changes will not affect the cases. They have also reiterated their commitment and determination to finding the perpetrators and bring them to justice. The press conference held by the NAACP in October 2017, where they announced that they would join the investigation and support the family of the victims. The NAACP expressed their frustration and suspicion over the lack of updates and transparency in the investigation, and compared the fire to the Birmingham bombing in 1963, when 4 young girls were killed in a church bombing during the Civil Rights Movement. The NAACP also alleges that the family members had been embarrassed and harassed by former investigators, and that there was a possible cover-up or corruption in the case. The NAACP said that they would do all they can to make sure that whoever was responsible for the fire would be brought to justice. The response from Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter was a heated one, who held a press conference later that day to address the NAACP's remarks. Doug Carter said he would give his life to find out who killed the girls in Flora and Delphi. He denied any notion of a cover-up or racial motivation in this case, and said that the investigation was still open and active. He said that he hoped to one day be able to tell the family and the public what they knew and when they knew it, but he could not do that at the moment. He also encouraged the NAACP to share their thoughts and spread awareness of the case, and asked anyone with information to come forward and help solve the Flora Fire. As a true crime journalist and the host of this channel, I have been following and covering this case since the beginning, and I have done everything I can do to bring attention and awareness to the Flora Fire. I have also interviewed some of the people involved. I have also visited the crime scene and memorial site for the girls, and I have shared my insights and opinions on the case to the best of my ability. But here are some of the questions that I have lingering about the Flora Fire case. Why would Dennis Randall quit his job after lying in the fire report? Well, one reason may be that another relative of Dennis is Michael Randall. In 1993, Michael was convicted in Carroll County for a felony, arson. Furthermore, with all this white nationalism talk in the Delphi murders case, we already know former Sheriff and Mayor Lee Hord is a part of the Ku Klux Klan, and that he, Randall, and other random locals are associated with racist beliefs by their own admissions. So are they trying to silence Brandon Woodhouse, myself, and anyone else who stands up for the truth? I can't be for sure, but I can say that this is all ironically coincidental. The firehouse remained a scar in the town, sitting as a burnt reminder of the tragic events that occurred there that night. But in the late summer 2023, the house was demolished. Gaylin Rose made one last stop to say goodbye. The 7 years is too long for justice. Randy Gravett, along with Kathy Clendenning, hosted a memorial walk event in Flora, where the Aunt Jackie of the 4 girls was present and made a statement. And to the family of the victims, you are not alone. You will never be alone. True Crime Investigates fans, myself, and other creators are still pursuing justice in hopes that one day we will stand united in Flora, Indiana, and finally say, today is the day in Flora.
Welch.